I think, but you know,
Of course, Beaumont Career on the play being a
being on the play,
huge
it's a huge card advantage.
Okay, so hello Lee. Your team just advanced to 3-0, which is a pretty decent start. How do you feel?
We're delighted. We won't lie, there was certainly some nerves coming into the tournament. We'd originally booked in to play the RPTQ 2 weeks ago in Bologna,
Mm-hmm.
but a series of real-life circumstances demanded that we consider the second weekend instead. And of course, the organisers, were basically spamming, justifiably, various Facebook groups. So we said, look, let's go to Poland. We think we might have a better chance there.
And in the end, you managed to get there and play the tournament.
Yeah, so when we're here, we're loving it. It's fantastic. We're trio. We can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, we were watching your last game and commentating on it. It got tantalizingly close when Dominic actually drew a shock when you were at 3 life with the active Teferi. It's a pretty...
Well, lightning strikes usually come out in that matchup, and presumably my opponent, when sideboarding, didn't have enough cards to bring in.
Yeah, not enough Chandras, not enough Glory Bringers, or maybe didn't want to bring them in.
I mean, it was kind of close. The key turning point of the match was actually a few turns earlier. When I hit my 5th land drop, my 2 choices were either Fumigate to remove the Soul Scar Mage and the Chain Whirler, or to stick it to Fairy and hope that I dodge a Prowess trigger. And I did. So, given that my opponent could only attack the Fairy down to 1, he chose to attack me instead. Or basically I was able to syncopate the Glory Bringer when it came out, and that was basically
that was a very strong turning point. What I also think was a pretty interesting decision point was the turn after you stick the Fairy.
Mm-hmm.
Then you untap with a Fumigate in hand, and you had basically a decision where you ended up deciding to spend a seal away on Goblin Chainwheeler over fumigating that turn.
Yeah.
And that, to me, from commentators and spectators' perspective, signified the importance of instant speed answers, because the way the game broke down after that, Dominic had 2 lightning strikes, managed to shoot you twice, bring you to 3, while attacking you with 3 power Soulscar Mage, and forcing you to spend your instant speed answer in Settle the Wreckage and leaving your Fumigate stranded in hand.
To be in fairness, I was going to use a Settle after the first lightning strike. I wasn't going to go to I wasn't going to take 2 damage in that position regardless.
Understandably.
And so when he played the second lightning strike, it was a bonus in a sense, because it gives me massive card advantage to turn after, because I can stabilize with Lyra.
Yeah, but what I find interesting about that is that the Fumigate not being cast, basically not casting it at that point strands it in your hand against a mass of possible hasty threats that the red deck can master.
Well, like I said, when I hit the 5th land, it was Fumigate or Teferi, and I went with the Teferi. We had a small team conversation as to what to stick. I was on 14 life, I think, at that point. So Marco says, look, you're on 14 life. You can take another hit if you need to. Play the Teferi, take your card, untap, which gave me Syncopate for the Glory Bringer. And it was a close game. I stabilize at 8 life, and then he plays Hazaret, and he can swing out and put me to 3, sure, but I have Excellence Binding in hand, and I can go back up to 8 the following turn.
So you have the plan for this game?
Yeah,
certainly.
Lyra comes in absolutely every single time against red. You need it's not just the lifelink necessarily. It's first strike damage, being able to, maybe prevent your opponent from attacking. Also, having a 5/5 angel in play forces your opponent to expend resources.
Of course, light ice.
I mean, they
great if it sticks against moderate.
They have to have a fight with fire, or a combination of shock, magma strike, lightning strike.
It requires a lot of them. You also talked about your teammates chiming in and with some advice.
No,
do you enjoy that part of team tournaments?
Absolutely.
The teamwork and like having different like people having some comments.
I'm playing the game a long time. Like my first GP was back in 2000. I've been playing PTQ since 1998. But you know, my teammates are far more experienced than me. You know, they've played, you know, at higher levels. They've day 2 GPs, etc. And granted, I got the invite, and I knew what I had to do. I said if at a Grand Prix, people from like Team Channel Fireball, etc., try and bring a deck to meta for day 2, then I need to bring a team with the intention of winning the RPTQ and going to the Pro Tour and having a chance at the Pro Tour. So I reached out to a modern specialist in Leo and a legacy specialist in Marco. And I've been playing Blue-White Control for the last year and a half. Approach, then Drake's, and when Teferi was released, I mean...
That's really like long-term planning from you. Wow, that's quite
well, I mean,
impressive.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Also, granted, the guys know this, I was the last person in Croatia to pick up RPTQ invite. I won one of the last PPTQs of the season in our region. And at that point, all of the regional established pros were already spoken for. And then on top of that, potential teammates from Slovenia only went in top 4 in Bologna just to you know, put themselves out of contention for playing the RPTQ as well.
Yeah, I see. So, Lee, 3-0 right now. I wish you best of luck. I hope that you will manage to
as do we all.
Qualify it.
Thank you very much indeed.
Best of luck. Thank you.
That sounded okay.